Hi, I'm Gareth James. I'm the Chief of Education and Strategy at the Microbit Foundation. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not local, I'm from the UK, and so is the BBC Microbit. So, the BBC Microbit, that's the box. What do you get inside the box? This is what you get inside the box. So, the BBC Microbit was a project that came out of the BBC in the UK, but they drew together 29 different organisations, including organisations like Samsung, the Institution of Engineering and Technology, Microsoft, Barclays Bank and other big ticket items, as well as lots of smaller bodies as well, to create this thing where they created a million of them to give away to children right across the UK, all grade 7 age children. But the BBC project was for 1 year. Why are we here now? Well, that's because we created a foundation, a not-for-profit, which is trying to make this available to people across the globe and to inspire a new generation of digital creatives. Now, when we say that, we're not just talking about coders. Obviously, coding is really important, and we'll show you how easy it is in just a moment to do the coding on the Microbit, or how complex should you wish to make it more complex. But we'll also talk a little bit about the device itself and some of the other things that you can do with it. So first of all, come over and have a look here on the screen at the coding environment. If we just flick back, you'll see that the Microbit has a couple of main coding environments, including what we call JavaScript block editor, which is make code, and the Python editor. And what you'll find is over the next few weeks and months, other code environments will appear on here. So for example, Scratch have just released an extension to the Microbit, and the Mu editor for Python is extremely good with the Microbit too. If you go into Let's Code, here we have the block editor, and as you can see, it's extremely simple and straightforward. So if you want to do something, you simply hit the buttons and you can drag and drop onto the screen. The other nice thing about it is that you have an on-screen emulator which shows you what you've done as coding. So if we hit button A, you should get this image here. It's good to know that happened. Press button, when you shake it, come on, it then scrolls hello. So it's a good way for people to be able to test their coding before they get anywhere near the device itself. But you'll notice there's a button over here that says JavaScript, and of course that means you can then flick into doing full text coding, and what you did in blocks is now here in JavaScript, and vice versa. The other thing as well, for those of you who are working with the kids, is that if you go into projects and hit projects here, we have a range of different activities that have been created, both for coding, for making, for science, and there's going to be an ever-increasing repository of material. It's not just within the code editor, because if you flick back to the Microbit Foundation's home pages, then you'll see that in the index, which you can find at the bottom of the page, there's a whole list of lessons, projects, quick start guides and tutorials that are there. And over the next few months, you'll find this becomes far more navigable, much easier to find what you need. If you go to the top of the page, there's ideas, lots of different projects for people within the making community. And within the teach button, again, you've got lots of teaching ideas and links to important stuff, such as the fact that here, ready for the North American launch, we have a range of different lessons that have been created specifically around the Microbit, and Microsoft have created a 14-week curriculum course. Now, moving quickly on to the Microbit itself, for those of you that are not familiar with it, you have two input buttons, a 25 LED display screen, and it's worth saying that these LEDs can also behave as light-dependent resistors for measuring light levels. You have a strip down here where you have 5 pins which you can connect to with crop clips, banana plugs, but if you get one of the breakout strips, you can make full use of all of the 20 of the pins along here. Turn it over, you'll see you have your connection for the micro USB, but just here you have a Bluetooth antenna. And that tells you that with the Bluetooth antenna, you can program it from smart devices using the Microbit apps, which are available for Android and for iOS devices too. There are other apps available. So you can use the Microbit as a data logger, for example, and transmit data back to a Bluetooth receiver, either on a phone or on a laptop, and collect that data for use in science experiments, for example, or if you've been taking part in a competition such as the F1 in Schools competition. You know, you might be wanting to use it as a way of recording the time that it's taken for your car to go down the track. On board you have an accelerometer and a compass, which means that it can measure its position as you rotate it around, and you might want to use that as a remote control for a robot. Or if you're doing experiments such as, and you can see them just over there, the little Mars lander models, if you were dropping those with a parachute on top, you could measure the acceleration and the deceleration as it drops and then hits the surface. All sorts of applications. But of course, with this breakout strip, you can attach other sensors, other outputs to it. Essentially, you can do with it whatever you like within the capabilities of the device. So, very versatile, just in itself. If you are a very creative teacher or a very creative maker, you can do whatever you like with it. If you have creative kids, give them the opportunity to explore its possibilities and come up with ideas. But let's face it, some days you're just not creative. And if you're not feeling particularly creative, then you have a website full of ideas that have been created not only on behalf of the foundation, but we are bringing in lots of ideas from the community all the time. Do some wonderful things, share it with us, and we'll tell the world. Thank you for listening.